This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
For WXCO News, I'm Brittany Merlot. A 3-month-old child died in Marathon County Hospital, and a 27-year-old man is in custody. Emergency responders received a medical call for a 3-month-old unresponsive child on November 20th in the town of Norrie. The baby was then transported to the hospital, but despite all medical efforts, died after 2 days there. A 27-year-old man has been arrested on a charge of first-degree reckless homicide. He's being held on a $100,000 cash bond. His initial court appearance is scheduled for February 20th. And the remains of a woman last seen in Clark County over 4 years ago have been found. Cassandra Ion was last seen in Unity on October 3rd of 2020. Her body was discovered on Saturday in the town of Brighton, near County Highway P and Abe Lincoln Road in Marathon County on private property. Attorney General Josh Cole says that my heart goes out to Cassandra's family and friends. Clark County District Attorney Melissa Inlow stated, although we were pleased with the outcome of the trial and felt that justice had been done on behalf of Cassandra, we never stopped looking for her. Jesus Contreras Perez of Mosinee was sentenced to life in prison without eligibility for release on September 12th of 2022 in relation to the disappearance of Cassandra. A jury found Contreras Perez guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, hiding a corpse, and stalking, causing bodily harm after a 5-day trial in June of 2022. And 3 Wisconsinites have contracted salmonella from cucumbers sold in the Badger State. And 65 other people have been infected across 18 other states, according to the CDC. The cucumbers can be traced back to a company named Sunfed Produce, and they were shipped to 26 states, including Wisconsin, between October 12th and November 26th. The Wisconsin DHS, alongside other state and federal partners, are currently investigating further into this multi-state outbreak. The U.S. Supreme Court is currently deciding whether to take a Wisconsin case. It's about school policies on gender. Savannah Tomey Olsen reports.
The Eau Claire Area School District updated their policy to say that if a child wants to be addressed by a different name or pronoun, staff would respect that and would not notify parents without the child's consent. Advocates for LGBTQIA youth say that can protect queer kids whose families may not understand them. But a group of parents, represented by the conservative Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, sued the district. They claim the policy usurps their rights as parents. Luke Berg, representing the families who filed the lawsuit.
This can do harm to children, and in our view, that's why parents need to be involved.
Meanwhile, Haley Archer, attorney for the Wisconsin ACLU, says it's not a black and white issue.
I believe one of the reasons that this question is debated is because it is complex. We're balancing the rights of parents, we're balancing the rights of schools, we're balancing the rights of students, and ultimately, the safety of the student is, in my opinion, the most important of these rights.
The Wisconsin Office of Children's Mental Health reports nearly half of LGBTQIA youth in the state seriously consider suicide. Nationally, according to the Trevor Project, those rates drop significantly for trans and non-binary young people who feel accepted at home. Now, this lawsuit has been dismissed in Wisconsin courts twice. Judges have said while the parents are genuinely concerned, the policy hasn't impacted them or their kids, so the suit has no standing. The parents have now asked the U.S. Supreme Court to review their case, but the court only takes on less than 1% of requested cases.
And a recent Broadband Now report found that Wisconsin is one of the worst states in the country when it comes to broadband internet access. The findings found that less than 80% of residents had access to broadband or high-speed internet. The Wisconsin DNR has released preliminary license and harvest totals for this year's gun deer season after its conclusion this past Sunday. Figures show a slight increase in Wisconsin deer hunters from the same time period last year. Sales for deer hunting privileges reached 791,000, up from 2023's nearly 789,000. These figures might indicate an end to a downward trend in hunter participation. Here's Deer Program Specialist Jeff Pritzel.
Our license sale numbers reflect relative stability in participation over the last couple of years now. And that's really good news given the long-term trend we've been describing that we've seen over the last couple of decades of a slow decline in participation. And so license sale numbers actually a hair up this year compared to last year. So some stability there. So that's good to see.
Final license sale numbers will be available next month, accompanied by the DNR's analysis and interpretation. Harvest totals show that Wisconsin hunters registered 89,787 antlered deer and 99,835 antlerless deer, for a total of 189,662 deer for the 2024 gun deer season. This is a 5.2% increase from last year's harvest total. And Wisconsin experienced just one non-fatal firearm-related hunting incident during the season. And with various hunting seasons running through the rest of the year, the DNR reminds hunters to always practice firearm safety. Information regarding firearm safety can be found on the DNR's website. Muzzleloader season has already started, and there are other hunting seasons leading into the beginning of next year, meaning that if you didn't get anything this gun deer season, you might still have a shot. Across the state, fishermen, skaters, and outdoor enthusiasts are waiting on lakes to freeze over. However, here in Wausau, some have already taken to the ice, reeling in their next catch. As thin layers are freezing over in shallow spots and another cold blast strikes today, remember to always check ice thickness. And did you know that back in the day, they had a unique way of determining whether the lake was frozen on Lake Mendota in Madison?
They decided that if you could get into a boat with a keg of beer and not get across the lake, it was frozen. So, everything revolves back to boating and maybe a little beverage or two. But that's the official way, and that's still how we track it. It's not if the whole lake is frozen. It's just frozen at its most major points.
That's Clean Lake Alliance founder James Ty. Remember, you need at least 4 inches of ice to walk out on it safely, and with the winds and weather conditions, it can always change and shift. Stay safe. And gift cards are one of the most popular gifts around the holidays, but be careful when you're buying them. Wisconsin Consumer Protection Director Michelle Rainin says criminals have ways to take money out of those cards if you're not careful. So only buy gift cards directly from the retailer, and inspect the cards before you buy them to see if safety features are still in place. And never use a gift card to pay someone over the phone. That's one of the favorite ways for criminals to take your money. And the largest beekeeping conference in central Wisconsin will happen at Mid-State Technical College next month. The Bee Meet 2025 will be on January 25th at the Mid-State campus in Wisconsin Rapids. They'll have a whole list of guest speakers and sessions to help you improve honey production and beekeeping skills. The full-day event is $75 if you register before December 25th. You can also attend virtually for $50. I'm Brittany Merlot for WXCO.
Badgers lose to Michigan. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Badgers lost to Michigan last night, 67-64 in the Kohl Center. Wisconsin now 8-1, their first loss of the season. Greg Gard.
As I told the team, this is the lowest possession game we've had all year. So when you get in these type of games, the ability to defend, we didn't defend the paint well. Rebounding, we gave up too many offensive rebounds in the first half. A lot of them were all long rebounds and wild possessions. And then untimely turnovers.
The Badgers face Marquette Saturday in Milwaukee. Marquette on the road tonight against Iowa State. The Bucks advance to the NBA Cup quarterfinals after a 127-107 win over the Pistons in Detroit. Damian Lillard.
Coming into this game, they knew it was a big game for them, but it was a big game for us too. Closer towards, getting to Vegas, also closer towards becoming the team that we want to continue to become.
NFL, the 9-3 Packers head to Detroit to face the 11-1 Lions tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Josh Jacobs says it'll be a showdown.
Obviously, they've been rolling. They've been playing really good ball. So we feel like we've been playing good ball too. They the top of the division, and that's what we hunting. So it's gonna be fun.
That's Packers running back Josh Jacobs. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Sharon Stone has accused director Sam Raimi of having no loyalty. That's according to Deadline. The two worked together on Raimi's fantastic film, The Quick and the Dead, on which Stone was a producer. She says after that film, Raimi went on to direct big films and totally forgot about her. Stone credits herself for bringing Raimi from B movies to A-list movies. That might be true, but she also took credit for Russell Crowe and Leonardo DiCaprio's stardom. Great actress, but who knew she was a kingmaker? If you're one of those people who still watches Saturday Night Live, good for you. There are still some good laughs here and there. Also, you can look forward to former cast regulars Chris Rock and Martin Short hosting before Christmas. Rock will host December 14th, and Martin Short will host December 21st. This coming Saturday, Paul Mescal hosts with Shabuzi as the musical guest. Enjoy. When I saw Wicked last weekend at my local theater, I was surprised the crowd wasn't more into it. On the other hand, some theaters are taking issue with moviegoers singing along. Stars Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande weighed in, saying audiences should do whatever they feel. Moana's 2, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, also says it's okay to sing along. So to those who heckled me last weekend in the middle of my performance during the film, I say take that. And seriously, clapping is good, but let's leave the singing to the professionals. If you're a fan of Yellowstone, there's a pretty good bet one of your favorite characters has been killed off in recent episodes. I will hold off on the most recent killings for spoiler purposes, but the killing spree started with Kevin Costner's character John Dutton, who was found dead in the first episode of the second half of season 5. If you're a fan of the show, you better start watching while there's still a cast. If you're in the Milwaukee area and looking for live holiday entertainment, run, don't walk to see A Christmas Carol at the Pabst Theater. The Dickens classic is one of the most well-known Christmas stories ever, and as usual is put on by the Milwaukee Rep. Because of a few harrowing moments, recommended ages are 6 and above, but word on the street is they aren't checking IDs. Tickets start as low as $15, and at those prices, you can't afford not to check it out. You might think being nominated for an Academy Award is a big deal. For most people, it would be, but not Samuel Jackson. Jackson was nominated in the Best Supporting Actor category for his role as Jules in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Jackson told the AP that people barely remember who won, much less who didn't when it comes to nominations. Jackson did, however, say it would be an honor to win, even though he hasn't had the pleasure yet. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be cloudy and very windy with off and on light snow today and falling temperatures this afternoon. We're going to drop into the low to mid-teens by later today with a wind chill below 0 by late this afternoon. Tonight, cold, windy, 8 above. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, high of 22. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it's 26.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.